Welcome to a look at a new game for this channel, but probably a title that's popped its head above the swelling ranks of class-based, team-based FPS games, and that's Lawbreakers. So with the first public alpha over, and with the slightly bold move of not requiring an NDA, we can take a look at what Lawbreakers offers us in terms of gameplay and originality. Is it worth your time, and just where does it fit in? So Lawbreakers feels like something of a throwback to classic arena shooters in a number of ways. The pace, movement, and the level design harks back to a simpler time of Unreal Tournament and Quake 3. But it adds a smorgasbord of new mechanics that those games could only dream about, things like localized gravity fields. Yes, Lawbreakers is set in the future, where gravity has gone a bit broken. There are two warring factions in the shape of the Law and the Breakers. The Breakers abusing the brokenness, and the Law trying to cuff the pesky hoodlums. The differences are cosmetic only, and to be honest, the attitudes heard in the character voice lines suggest the Law side is more bad cop than anything else, but this is the background in which the gameplay is painted. So although the high-level view of these class-based, team-based FPS games may seem very similar, the comment section comparisons to Overwatch are already long and dull, the actual experience of playing Lawbreakers is sufficiently different to make the whole conversation feel somewhat redundant. The base of each class tends to be an archetype that feels familiar, the heavy, slow, powerful one and the fast, nimble, light one. But the core game isn't the hard counters of something like Overwatch. This is a game where any class has a reasonable chance to win a 1v1 encounter. Each class has a set of weapons. There's currently no loadouts or unlocks, and no real indication that will be added in the future, and they each wield their own unique abilities. There are currently 4 classes in the game, with the UI suggesting that a 5th is on the horizon. The Enforcer initially feels like a typical COD soldier for people who need that touchstone to relate to a game, but to be honest, that somewhat undersells what actually turns out to be the closest thing the game has to a support class. He has a standard assault rifle, don't worry about ammo, just how much is left in your magazine, and a surprisingly strong secondary in the shape of a neat looking shotgun style pistol. His main highlight is a time dilation field that on first use just feels like something to make you run faster, but after longer use you actually find it has an AoE effect on teammates around you, and even speeds up time for weapon firing and reloading too. The Titan is the slow rocket launcher one, and to be honest, seems the most straightforward to pigeonhole. You kind of know what you're getting. Whereas the Vanguard is arguably the most powerful class, with a direct fly ability and the power to maintain momentum coming out of her ability, something that the Enforcer lacks. The weapon is Gatling gun style and needs to spin up to reach its peak DPS. It also increases accuracy at higher speed too, something that I've not seen in other FPS games, yet feels instantly natural to use. Finally, the Assassin is arguably the poster child for movement in Lawbreakers. Her standout abilities are her twin-bladed melee weapons and her grapple hook right-click that can be used to slingshot her around the map, flying in, through and out of low-gravity zones. And it's through these low-gravity zones that much of the combat takes place in Lawbreakers. The symmetrical grand view map has a central hub encompassed by a low-gravity bubble. Your class abilities can often be used to motivate you around this zone, but burn through that fuel too fast and you'll be left flailing and ripe for enemy attack. There is currently a single game mode where you capture the battery from the centre of the map, charge it at your base, and then after a 20-second countdown, your team scores a point. The drama of this mode is from the battery charge. It persists regardless of where it was actually charged. Want to let an enemy charge it and then you steal it with 10 seconds left? Go ahead and try. It's a high-stakes strategy. So what did I think after this first alpha? Well, to be honest, I really enjoyed myself. Much of that was due to being in a party with friends. A bit of communication does wonders, especially in a game that is currently 5v5. The balance and lack of hard counters means that every class feels viable. There's no awkward conversations about who's going to do the support roles. The gunplay is generally good. The hit registration doesn't seem to have the same super crispness of something like Dirty Bomb or Battlefield, but certainly not to a degree that it actually put me off. The movement keeps things fresh and brings opportunities and challenges that you rarely find in new FPS titles. It looks great as you can see from the footage. Performance was acceptable on a 970, although some occasional dips speak of its alpha status with a long development road ahead. I'm not saying it's perfect though. There are a number of things that myself and others voiced opinions on. Aspects like out-of-ability movement can feel processional, that initial walk out of spawn especially. That dovetails with concerns about how much of your ability fuel you use just simply moving around versus how much you actually use during combat. Health stations were another big talking point. These are stationary points around the map and your only source of health regen. There are stations near the base battery capture points, but out in the level, the others were kind of off to the side. An awkward journey to these was often the reward for winning a 1v1 with an enemy. Your further reward came by having to stand still in them for a number of seconds. Not something that seemed like a chore initially, but sharply contrasted with the pace of other areas of the game. I'm not saying the game should be 100% craziness all the time, just that the current health station system sat uncomfortably with the rest of the game. I could go on listing other aspects about the games I would change. Well, let's say, like adding a server browser, the tone and quality of voice lines wasn't great, auto-aim on the assassin melee shouldn't exist at all, weak-sounding weapons, and, so on. But this actually plays to another positive note from the alpha test. The developers themselves were on hand to talk to. They honestly seemed open to suggestions and criticisms. I know that Total Biscuit in a video talked about not liking the current health station systems as well, and the devs talked about possible changes to those and other features in the future. This is just the first alpha though. Limited numbers of players, limited time servers, one map, one game mode. There's much work to do before this is a shipping title. But from this glimpse, there's much to be positive about, and a reason to keep an eye on it for the future. But what did you think about Lawbreakers? Do you have any comments or questions? I'd love to hear them. So thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, I'm at LCTRGames. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Take care.